of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. The songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. I forgot to hit the mic. How are you tonight? This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. We are being broadcast live on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and we are on YouTube as well tonight. So that is the Spaces Between with Paisley Wild on YouTube. And so, no matter where you're listening, make sure you stop in and say hello. And if you're on YouTube, by all means, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you got the little bell going, you'll be notified when we go live. So, if you want to support the show, I appreciate it. um, Make sure you're listening to TFR and YouTube, and I will have the website live on by the end of the weekend. I've got it mostly built. Just finishing up some details and making sure the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and the links work because that's important. So, yep, 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 yep. So, and the instead of doing Etsy from now on, we're just everything's going to be on the website. I've discovered that my personal investment is actually better just to have a website than it is to try to do Etsy or Shopify or any of those other things. So, yeah, just the way of it. Um, let's see what else. Oh, the call line is open tonight. So if you want to call in, share your thoughts or opinions, please give me a call. The number is 213-233-3998. Or if you are across the pond in the UK, it is 44203-393-2871. So I see that there's a few new names in the chat rooms. I see Gemini and Deb, Blacktree. Hello, Julia. And Cameron and Tracy. Welcome, Tracy, from the Paranormal Portal. And then in TFR, I'm seeing Jan for Peace and Marty. And Julia is double timing in both places. And Brent from Paranormal Portal is visiting as well. So hello, hello. Nice to see you all. And I don't know what the weather is like where you guys are. I do know that here in North Idaho, it is rapidly approaching OMG cold for September. It's going to freeze this weekend, and we have a winter weather advisory in effect from 2 a.m. Saturday morning. So in just what is it, 5 hours from now, until sometime on Sunday. They're seeing above 3,000 feet, so 3,000 feet above sea level. They're expecting like up to 2 feet of snow, and it's going to be miserable and cold and wet. And then wind gusts up to 55 miles an hour. Are you kidding me? This is September, people. We're supposed to be out playing in the leaves and stuff. So today I've been frantically going through and winterizing the best I can because cold. Hello. And I am a fluffy gal, and I gotta tell you, when the fluffy gets cold, it's just cold. There's no warming up. So I don't want to do that. As I was kind of thinking about fall, because that's where we are, and Maven has just finished up. Right now, generally, is when I'm going on fall walks with Minnie Paisley and enjoying the crisp fall days. I love fall. My favoriteest time of the year. So hopefully we'll have second fall. We'll see. And I live on about 20 acres here in North Idaho. And we've got deciduous trees and evergreen trees. So the leaves are falling. I've got a maple tree that is just gloriously beautiful right now. The leaves are such a vibrant red. My oak tree, which is Groot's parent, is turning lovely shades of yellow, and then just walnuts and aspens and birch and all of it. And just in the tamarack, everything's just turning lovely, lovely, beautiful colors. And in the past, this is when Minnie Paisley and I will go out and we'll collect things like pine cones and acorns and walnuts and such in preparation for creating our Yule log. And that's how we ended up with Groot last year. Is Groot sprouted from the Yule log last year, which I thought was pretty freaking awesome. And anyways, so not everybody has access to just acreage to go out and collect things like I do. And I mean, shoot, my ponds. I have two ponds, by the way, and we went through kind of a dry period, so the ponds were down low enough that we could actually get down into them a little bit more. And we had a bunch of freshwater mussels in the ponds, and you can see where the raccoons came in, or the maybe opossums. I'm assuming raccoons, but yeah, it could be possums. Went through and ate some of those mussels, and so I gathered a bunch of shells. There's a whole pile of them, and I'm totally stoked because I want to go through and I've got a staff I need to work on this winter, and it's got a crack in it. And to fill in the crack, I want to fill in with some of those shells, those with the mother of pearl, because I think it'll be pretty, and it's all stuff that's been sourced from the property here. So just a real solid connection to all of it. Very, very excited. But anyways, not everybody has access to that. Some people have to actually go out into the woods. They have to go to somebody else's place, or they go buy things, or some other place to find the stuff they're going to use for their craft or for wild crafting or decor around the house, that kind of thing. I mean, even if you see over my right shoulder here, my one of my headdresses, not very good light. See if I can turn on a flashlight or something and brighten it up just a little bit. Maybe technology. I gotta tell you, some days technology is my friend. Other days it's like, oh my gosh, bright light. So you can kind of see it there. Not really, sort of. Yeah, it's a poor picture. Anyways, that was all mostly naturally sourced, gifted to me, that kind of thing. So I just wanted tonight to talk about wildcrafting a bit, and how to source things for like our altars or just for our craft in general. I know a lot of folks like to have a staff. I prefer a staff over a wand myself, partly because occasionally gravity is not nice, and I like to have a little bit of support when I'm walking, especially if there are adult beverages involved, because there are some occasionally. Yes, adult beverages. And so I, yeah, just talking about wildcrafting a little bit, and just basically what is ethical wildcrafting in general. It's just to be kind of in harmony with nature in reality, because what could be more natural and resourceful and sensible than finding your own herbs and such, or your plants, that kind of thing, in the wild where they grow. I mean, if you go on a walk as a pagan, you're really going to start feeling a stronger connection with the land around you. You'll hear the birds in the trees, the wind in the leaves. If you're really quiet, you can sometimes hear the deer or the quail or the turkeys, or any of that stuff. And it's just really soothing to really get back into nature, especially if you don't have access to it all the time. Even here, it just feels good to go outside and sit on my deck and observe the sunrise or sunset or the fog roll in or any of that. And it feels good to feel that grounding and to just be a part of it. And so, hi, many musings. Yes. Hi, Isaac. Isaac can't talk. So, yes. Find an oak tree and you will find acorns. Actually, I have to tell you, my acorns fell very early this year, towards mid to late August, first part of September. Normally they're starting to fall now. Hi, Sage. And since they are already down for the year, basically, I kind of knew that winter was coming early this year. So just trying to mentally prepare myself because I'm cold already and it's not even October. That's kind of scary. Anyways, so why be ethical when it comes to wildcrafting and searching your stuff? It's because you want to make sure you're not harming your environment, that you're not breaking laws. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. And you want it to be sustainable, and you don't want to take and go and harvest everything from an area because you'll negatively impact the environment right there, or the ecology more, I suppose, than the actual environment. And sometimes there are at-risk species that you may be around, or some things that you shouldn't be, shouldn't harvest. Some things are toxic. I mean, there are some things out there. So, very first, know the plants that you're looking for. Real straightforward. I've got plant identifier on my phone. There's a lovely book by a local gal here in the Pacific Northwest. Her name is Doreen Shababy, and she wrote the book Wild and Weedy. And I have to tell you, it's a great book. A lot of good information in there. And she's got a Facebook page, and she's just a lot of wonderful wisdom when it comes to plant life in general. And it's good to have some sort of resource before you go out and try to harvest any herbs or anything like that. Yeah, mushrooms. Be careful of the mushrooms. Some of them are really good, and some of them are good to eat, and others are, well, just leave them alone. And if you don't know, there's clubs you can join to learn specifically about mushrooms, or go out with someone that knows about mushrooms. I know that I've been out with Don Longbeard and Brent Thomas and Mrs. Paranormal Portal, and we've gone mushroom hunting, and we've gathered cattails, and it was just a really really fun. Hey, Sonia. And it was it was a good time. It really was, and learned a lot about mushrooms, a lot that I forgot, and I'm kind of reluctant to just go out and eat a bunch of wild mushrooms, just because I don't know enough. I don't feel like my knowledge base is good enough yet. But, anyways, know the plants. And if you don't know for sure what you're looking at or what you're looking for, don't pick it. Take a picture of it um, from a couple different viewpoints, measure it, do that kind of thing. So when you are back in the area around, people who know about mushrooms or plants or anything like that, or you go to your local like extension office and want to know more about your local flora and fauna. I Hi, monster. I'm not going to try the first part. Hey, woke. You really want to be aware and not get a bunch of things that are going to be toxic to yourself, to your family, or to your pets. Those are all bad for you. So and you don't want to go there. So also there's some plants that are at risk. They are the ecology where they're at, the environment where they're at is protected. So be aware. And sometimes you can find substitutes for some of the rare ones. Just like in our craft, often we can substitute like a clear, plain crystal, a quartz crystal for many of the stones that we might use in a craft or a working or a ritual, or a white candle in place of some of the other candles. You can absolutely do those things, which is good. So you may want to look into finding substitute plants that may be, if you're looking for a specific color, you can often get white flowers and dye them. There's all sorts of ways to dye them online. And, just be aware of what you're doing. Know the land where you're at. So you want to make sure the land is healthy. If you're looking to source something really, really wild and natural, try not to go along the side of the road, because there's often sprays and herbicides and bugicides and all that stuff are sprayed along the side of the road. So you want to make sure you're not getting any of that icky stuff. If you're in a residential area or in town, what was in that on that property beforehand. Was it industrial or plant or a factory of some sort? Sometimes power lines and input in construction can impact the ground around it. People are often not very nice to the land around us, so just be aware. Know the rules. Uh, there's there's a lot of rules involved in just being out in the wilderness. Sometimes, some plants and animals are very protected, and you're not allowed to be in those areas because of the protected nature of the species. And so, just be aware of the local rules. Some areas, if you're like in a national parks or national forests, that kind of thing, sometimes there's some fees you need to pay or permits. Be aware. I know one of the places I like to go often has those really flat rocks, the slate type rocks. I think it'd be fun to make like a garden wall. And so, you know, in order to harvest those rocks, those and bring them home, I actually need a permit, and I just haven't done it because they're heavy for crying out loud. So, let's see. I had a question. Sage, what kind of crystal would be best? So it depends on what you're looking to do, Sage. Um, if you're just looking to boost your energy a little bit or your personal protection, yes, quartz is good. Obsidian's good. Tourmaline. Part of it is what calls to you also. But generally, I carry just a quartz point in my pocket because it feels right. Generally, I've got this agua stone, agua. I don't know what it was exactly. I didn't write it down. But it's very hard. It's got a very solid center, and it's a grounding stone. If I'm feeling twitchy, I'll use that. Or I've got a big piece of tur- uh, polished quartz that I use like a worry rock too. Just sometimes you need a fidget. I'll clear the quartz. Um, uh, Quartz crystal, QUARTZ quartz. Pink quartz is good. Clear quartz. You can find them online. You can buy them at a lot of your local shops. Generally speaking, though, if you're going to buy, when you go buy your stones, don't be afraid to do a cleansing on them, whether it's with salt or moonlight, moon water, soap and water. It's amazing how cleansing just soap and water are for our things. A rose quartz is more of a pink quartz. I know that Minnie Paisley and I did a walk up the one of our local creeks here and picked up some mica and quartz and sandstone and stuff like that, and just kind of cleansed it. And it was good. It was a good experience to go on rock picking in the river. So again, but sourcing naturally and locally, you need to be aware of any restrictions, and if it's public property versus private property, you need to make sure you have good solid permission, sometimes written permission, to be on private property, because some people are very sensitive about people being in their area. Locally here, we do have a couple of creeks with gold in them still. Not a lot. Honestly, it's like a little dust. It's barely there. But the folks that do have a mine or like a permit to pan for gold um, uh, along the creek, they are very sensitive if you're in their area, and you might be, intruding in their turf. Woke in SoCal. No, I am not familiar with Damascus steel rings. Damascus steel, yes, makes a beautiful, beautiful knife, sword, or other implement like that. But not a ring itself. I think that'd be just awesome. I would love one. So, Christmas list. Anybody wants to, or Yule list, Christmas list, Samhain, whichever you want to. I would love another ring. So, I'm not wearing many tonight because weather change. I have a little bit of arthritis, and I am dealing with some slightly swollen joints. It's been a fun week, I tell you. I can tell it's getting colder. Erg. So yeah, know the rules. Trespassing private property is a big no-no. National Park Service makes sure that you are using the right permits. Yes, hint, hint, absolutely monster. Then just be super careful in general. Just be careful. So, like right now, with the winter weather advisory here for us very not normal, not seasonal weather for us. Make sure that you are prepared to be out in the wilds with the right gear also. Don't show up in flip flops, shorts, and a tank top if the forecast is going to be down in the 20s or teens or sub zero, or there might be rain or snow or ice or any of that stuff. So, be prepared. And things happen all the time. And, you know, being prepared, it creates your own luck in reality. Kind of like having a solid Murphy fund often decreases the potential or need for having to spend it sometimes. Um, but yeah, be prepared. Make sure you got your blanket, your first aid kit, that kind of thing. So, mm, alcohol for arthritis that has a wintergreen scent to it sounds like a fun adult beverage. I've had that kind, I think, maybe. Anyway, so yeah, just be super careful. Know the rules, know the dangers. If you are in some areas, like further south, there's rattlesnakes. Be aware of that. Scorpions, big old spiders. If you're in Australia, everything is out to kill you. Yeah, everything. We'll just go with that, because Australia has just some crazy, crazy stuff. So yeah, but yeah, just be super careful. And if you when you go to harvest any of the plants, make sure you're taking only what you really need. Don't see, oh, I found a, a stash of, I'm trying to think, mushrooms, for instance, and you want to take all of the mushrooms. Well, no, you shouldn't. You should only take what you need. And you need to leave something there to propagate for future, seasons. And it's good to be respectful to the environment that you're in. Oh, yes, I would love to soak my achy joints in alcohol with wintergreen. If you mean from the externally, I suppose I can, but internally it's not bad either. Thanks, Deb. I may have to get that information from you tomorrow night. By the way, Deb Varner will be a guest tomorrow night. We're going to talk a bit about just being in tune with your guides, how to tune in with your guides. And I think, Deb, if you're up for it, I would love to talk about how to protect yourself a little bit. I've had some people ask about, how to shield and that kind of thing. So, how to just protect yourself in an environment to, prevent intrusion from outside sources, that kind of thing. So, yes, Deb Varner will be on tomorrow night. Super stoked. Love you, Deb. Thank you, thank you. Let's see what was my next one. So, yeah, take a little bit. So, sweet. Yay, we're going to talk about it. I have 4 elderberry trees here on the property, and I make elderberry wine. I've got 3 gallons that I probably should bottle shortly so that it can age in the wine basement. And when I was picking the elderberries, they're, of course, I'm tall-ish, but I'm not that tall, so there's some that I'm not going to get. And I was looking at some of my trees, and one of them, I got to look, and it didn't have a lot of fruit on it, so I decided not to harvest any of the fruit from it because I feel that we should leave some for the wildlife. Okay, so on the elderberries, it's kind of funny because they ferment on their own because they're covered with a natural yeast, so they get kind of they're a little bit alcoholic anyways. And we've got this woodpecker that shows up every season or every fall and eats those slightly fermented elderberries and gets just tipsy as all get out and falls off the tree and stumbles around the yard and then flies away. It's hilarious. So for my first and foremost, for my sense of humor and my amusement, we're going to leave some berries for the birds. But also, it's just respectful. You don't need to harvest everything when you come across it. Just like you don't pick all the flowers because you want seeds to come for the next year and that kind of thing. So just be aware, be respectful. Only take what you need and make sure you're leaving plenty for the animals around or the, what may be eating the plants or that kind of thing. So, like cattails. I do harvest cattails every so often. Minnie Paisley likes to use one as a wand. It's kind of hilarious. So yeah, there's that. But whether you're gonna weave them together or use them in just a decoration because it's that time of year, and I love them. Be respectful because some of those you need to leave for to propagate for the next season. It's just being respectful of your environment. Um, Also, a friend of mine has some apple and pear trees, so we just picked a bunch of apples and pears and plums. So I have a big wine weekend, so I may not be drinking as much this weekend, but I'm prepping. So I'll probably have about 6 gallons of plum wine going here by the end of the weekend. Super stoked about that, and I think it'll be great. It'll be good, and you know, just being showing the respect for the person that we received the fruit from. You want to be respectful when you go in their yard and they're picking to clean up and everything. Yes, Cameron, cattails are plants. I'm not gathering cats. I have one cat. Her name is Drama, and well, she likes to sit on me and give wave her tail in my general direction. Oh, it's bottom of the hour. We'll see you guys in like 3 minutes. So see you shortly. This is Paisley.
We will be upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And we've been talking about wildcrafting a bit, and in chat we've been talking about fermenting and brewing. Which why not? It's good. It's fun. I have yet to find a wild honey. I think that'd be super fun or super awesome. I would love to find wild honey to make mead because mead is pretty freaking awesome. I have to tell you. I made what was it? 2 gallons, I think it was, and had almost 24 bottles. And I'm not quite sure what I did because it was all fizzy, it was bubbly like champagne. And I had the wrong corks. I should have had the wire wraps to hold the corks in place because about 4th of July I had a bunch of corks pop. And so we had mead for days. so, um, and I shared that because I didn't want it to go bad, and that's sad. I had all these corks pop, so I've got one bottle left now from that batch of mead that I've been saving for a special occasion. So my birthday's coming up. That may be the um, right one. Oh, Sage, your husband makes wine for a living. That is so cool. I don't know if I would have the patience to do it commercially, but I do think that is a cool thing. Because, yeah, I like wine. And actually, most of it, not always some of the more expensive stuff because it just doesn't taste as good, but I guess, I don't know. We've got a local winery here in North Idaho that is pretty awesome. They've got good stuff, so. Oh, not for a couple weeks yet, Sage, but yes, thank you. So, let's see, recipes that mead can be used in. So, mead used to be used as a vehicle for medications, to be honest, especially in the apothecary, because you can put just about anything in the mead because mead tastes good. It masks and camouflages a lot of the potentially icky stuff. I personally tend to mix about half and half mead and elderberry wine. My elderberry from last year isn't very sweet. It's a little bit on the dry side even, and so I mix the elderberry with the mead. So I'm getting the natural fermentation, which is good for you, with probiotics, and then I get the wine because wine. Hello. I get the sweetness from the honey and the tart and the dry from the elderberry, and it tastes really really good. So, but yeah, you can muddle mead with various other herbs. Whether it's mint or chamomile or marigold or any of that stuff. I suppose you could steep tea in it if you wanted to, a cold steep. I don't know. But yeah, mead is itself is just water, honey, and yeast. It's kind of like sake. It's pretty simple. Um, Sake's on my to-do list too to make, but it's down there just a little bit. Mostly because you have to have some patience to make sake. There's a definite process to it. And also, just because I keep forgetting, the lines are open. The number is 213-233-3998 if you want to call in. And in the UK, it's 44-203-393-2871. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to call in, by all means. As we're talking about wine and wildcrafting and stuff. So, either way, just say hello. Yes. Whiskey neat's good. I actually, if I'm gonna go neat, a good tequila, nice agave tequila, the real stuff is good, or a really good clean vodka. Um, Again, local distillery here. They make real potato vodka, just like the Russians do, and it's actually really good, really really good. I was very impressed. So yeah, North Idaho, we've got some real small cottage industries that are they're cool. I wouldn't trade them for anything. I love living here. It's just awesome. So yeah, wildcrafting. You know, Right now, my daughter Minnie Paisley has been picking up a lot of the maple leaves because she loves the color, and she glued a bunch of them to a little paper plate circle, mostly because we wanted a wreath for Maven, and it turned out cute. It was super cute, and because it was my own property, I'm absolutely fine with her picking up a bunch of leaves and bringing them into the house and doing whatever. Although you can tell a pagan lives here because there's acorns kicking around on the floor half the time. It seems like leaves, crafting debris, feathers. I've got feathers everywhere. So yeah, and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, I don't know about gallons of the red wine, like a glass. Sure, but I don't know about gallons. That's a big glass. Um, the you know because I'm aware of what's going on, I think it's great. You can also harvest a lot of your local plants to make your own smudge sticks. So I don't know if you guys can see for YouTube folks over my left shoulder. You get the circly thingy with the yellow flowers, and then behind that you can see the lights with the broom. So also with the hanging with the broom is some cedar smudge sticks. So I have a couple of cedar trees here, and so Black Tree came over the shoot. It's been a couple weeks now, and we harvested a bunch of the cedar branches and wrapped them up and turned them into smudge sticks, and they've been drying here, and so I'll be using them for smudge, which I'm totally stoked about. I think it's great. And good night, monster. And because it was my own property, I was very selective on which branches we picked, and then we sat and we just went ahead and wrapped them. It was good. But if you don't have access to that kind of a tree, and you're going out into the wild, make sure you're picking a healthy tree to harvest your cedar from, and that is not the only tree, and you're just being respectful. And also, if you're harvesting in the wild, it's a good thing to thank the trees, thank the environment that you're in, the little forest creatures and all that, because you're in their space. You're interrupting their daily lives because you want to do something for yourself, which I totally get because I do it myself. I do it. But yeah, I definitely do. Yes, white ash trees are good. Yeah, different leaves or different parts of plants are very good for spell work. I gathered some pitch from one of my pine trees for some spell work later as we approach Yule. Um, it was just something that had happened naturally. The tree um, lost a branch, and I gathered some of the pitch that had come out from that broken branch when we cleaned everything up. Um, the I've got two staffs. One I don't even know where it came from. It's just I've got it sitting in the corner. It's the bark is very very tight on it. I'm not going to take the bark off. I like it actually natural, just the way it is. The other one is an elderberry branch that fell from the elderberry tree and just happened to be the right height. It was perfect. Everything about that thing is perfect. Oh my gosh. And so I have those naturally. I picked them up and I brought them home and cleansed them and kind of did a blessing on both of them, and that's just what you do. Um, but if I had felt compelled to, cut a tree or cut a branch to create a staff or even a wand, I would, first ask the tree's permission and make sure that I was in tune with the tree. And then I would, do whatever I needed to do respectfully and, thank the tree and leave an offering of some sort. Maybe it's, water from your bottle, or maybe it's a little bit of wine or salt or, a pretty stone or something that has meaning or value to you, because it is respectful to respect your environment. I think we've gotten away from that just a little bit. I'm not an environmental nut. I'm more of a realist. I'm a farm kid. You take care of the environment you live in, and it will take care of you. Um, when when we moved here, my oak tree, I got to tell you, it looked dead. It looked diseased. It had lichen all over it and moss, and just there wasn't very many leaves that first year. And that made me sad because I love oak trees. I think they're beautiful. I love maple trees. I love trees. And so I started talking to the tree because I talk to my environment, whether it's the trees or my flowers or my garden. I've got a couple of chickens, my dogs, my cat, whatever. I talk to the stuff around me and myself also, because if I don't talk to myself, nobody listens sometimes. Anyways, so in communicating with the oak and really connecting with the oak, now it is much healthier, and the leaves are very verdant. It's a very full tree. And then last Yule, when we had gathered some of the acorns and we put them on our Yule log, one of those acorns sprouted, and now I have Groot, which is pretty. I think it's pretty freaking awesome. It's pretty darn cool to me. Um, and I feel like that was the tree thanking me for giving it more attention and more a different kind of connection instead of just, oh, it's a tree in the backyard, I'm gonna blah. Um, being respectful of your environment. My plum tree did more plums this year than it ever has. That's why I have 3 gallons of plum wine thinking on my counter. Um, but this past spring, I went through and I helped clear some of the dead limbs from the tree because we have deer and moose, and they're not always. They can be kind of hard on the branches, and where it's sitting, it's kind of dark, so some of the branches died. So, yeah, it's being respectful and trimming it up. It just like pulling weeds from your flower bed. Sometimes you have to take care of your environment. Um, oh, that's awesome. Wall hangings. I would love mimosa wall hanging. They'd be just super cool, Deb. Um, and yeah, oh, many musings. That's stressful. We had so many musings commented she's got some white ash trees that need pruning because she's got some branches that are getting close to a power line. Um, we had the power company come out and trim back a couple of trees here too because they're starting to get up in the transformer, and that's bad. Um, oh, sad plum tree. There should be some sprouts, which I need to. I've got a couple of cuttings I need to plant actually tomorrow, hopefully, or maybe I don't know. We'll see what the weather looks like over the weekend. Um, and anyways, so yeah, just being respectful of my space, and a lot of those trimmings that I have, even with the cedar trees, or cedar branches, some of them I ended up um, using some twine to piece them together. Oh, Minnie Paisley, love you, baby, needs to go back to bed. He'll be home in just a little bit. Here, you want to take my rock? Yes, my rock feels warm because I'm playing with it. Go back to bed, babe. Sorry, I've got a little extra helper this evening. All right, go back to bed. Um, then go get a snack. And so you can use those same branches in your craft also. Um, I don't know if you can see over my right shoulder. I've got kind of a squiggly branch there that I've got some little lantern thingies hanging from. That I picked up the squiggly branch because I thought it was cute, and I actually it's really super cute. I've got a besom or a broom that I made for ceremonial type purposes. Good night, Sage. Good night, Gemini. And I use that you know some grasses from my hillside and some other branches, and I bound them together with a staff, and just so that's my kind of ceremonial besom. And just I tend to repurpose and harvest. So just being aware of my environment and what I see. So dogwood, love dogwood. I think there's the red dogwood. The branches are red. I love that color. So just as I feel called to harvest things, I'm trying to be respectful and acknowledging the environment I'm in and offering blessings and thank you to the environment. Just being aware. I wish I was closer to the ocean because I would love to pick up some seashells. from the ocean and have them, with my altar, because I know that would just be another element to my altar that would be super cool. I was reading an article earlier today where the abalone are actually starting to become threatened. They're not extinct yet, but they're definitely threatened. So, you need to be careful of what you're purchasing for your altar or for your smudging purposes. Um, the Palo Santo even is not as prolific or as common as it is. So be a little careful there also, because you want to make sure you're ethically sourcing your incenses and your smudges. If like here locally, or I could pick sage to make my own smudge, and so the wild sage would be fun. I just need to make sure I'm sourcing it carefully. A friend of mine has a tribal background, a Native American. No, I do not have an abalone shell, Deb. I have some other shells. I would love them. Yes. Um, no, I don't have one. I don't have a real one, but I would love one. But I just am cautious about which ones I'm purchasing. So I was just going to use one from my pond because I thought it was cool. Um, but anyway, so she's Native American background, so she can go into Native American or tribal lands and harvest sage, and it's okay. It's ethical for her to do that. That's not my background. That's not my history. It is not as ethical for myself to just wander into somebody else's private property, basically, and start picking things. Um, my grandmother was just this insane gardener. She had roses everywhere and chrysanthemums and mums and peonies and just all these beautiful, beautiful flowers. And she'd give away all these big, beautiful bouquets to all of her friends and stuff. And that was awesome because she felt like she could give them away because she wanted to share that beauty with her friends and family and neighbors. But if some stranger had just, walked onto her property and started picking flowers, she probably would have gone after them with a rake just like she would with a snake. She would have just beat them up. So, just be respectful of your environment. Um, Another article I was reading today it was from a year and a half ago. Basically, it was in theory, it was the trends that people are expecting to see in paganism for the next couple of years, and some of it, it's like, okay, that's good, and some of it is like, seriously, guys, I'm not part of the green movement, or am not an environmentalist in that, I'm not insanely nuts about it. I'm trying to be respectful. Again, care for your environment, and your environment will care for you back. Just like connecting with your deities, connecting with your guides, your gods. The more you connect with them, and the more you develop that relationship, the better you will be as a pagan, or as a witch, or um, if you're Christian, the more you connect with your deity, your Christ, or Abrahamic faith, the better your person you will be within that faith. So, spiritually, the more you connect with your spiritual awareness, the better off you will be. And develop that relationship. Don't be afraid to just straight up have a conversation with your deities or your guides. I'm a kitchen witch, and I have a guide that is kind of is very similar, and I talk to my guide all the time in the kitchen, all the time, constantly. It drives everybody nuts because they think I'm just talking to myself, but no, I'm talking to someone, and I think it's helped me be a better cook as a result. Um, and it's been a good experience because I'm developing that better relationship. And it's the same way with even the people around us. Communicate. Don't be afraid to put down your phone. Communicate. Have an actual face-to-face conversation with those around you. It's good for you. generally speaking. Sometimes it's hard because we don't like connecting in person anymore. It seems like everybody wants to be online, which I'm thankful you guys are here. Don't leave. Thank you for being here. But you know, so often we get tied up and wrapped up in the online world that sometimes we forget to be present in the physical world around us. So, take your family on walks, interact with them, interact with your deities, take care of your altar. Don't be afraid to make offerings. New moon, full moon, quarter moon, wax wane, doesn't matter. Um, I talk to Groot all the time. So Groot's what I named my little oak sapling, actually. Um, so I didn't want to just call it it. That just didn't seem respectful. So yeah, Groot. Groot gets talked to all the time. I stroke his leaves. I talk to all my plants, especially when I'm watering them. And I seem to have just quite a few because I love them. And when I'm out taking care of my critters, I talk to my chickens, talk to my maple tree, talk to the trees around me, the birds. We have ravens and crows in the backyard. I talk to them too. And it's just that building that stronger connection to my environment. And as I do that, I've become a stronger and more connected pagan because I'm more connected to the world around me without having to do a lot of weird spell casting or anything like that. And I feel like my environment is more protective of me because I am more protective of it as a result. I have that stronger connection. And they've done studies now where if you talk to your plants in a pleasant tone of voice, they actually grow better for the most part. Tomatoes apparently like the occasional beating because they need that kind of stuff, but that's different. Generally speaking, your houseplants really appreciate that conversation. Um, I went through and fertilized everything here about a month ago because I do it periodically. Just I don't want to overdo it on the soil, and I need two that I need to repot. And when I do, it's like, hey, I'm sorry about doing this. I talk to my plants while I'm doing it. Um, Even the wine as it's sitting on my counter, I will stop and I will pet the jug. It's like, oh, you look so good. Um, I love my wine, and it's just the way that I am connecting with what's going on around me. So um, it's just one of those things. So yeah. Anyways, if you have an idea for my show, so tonight I have to tell you, just kind of winged it a little bit because I wasn't sure what to talk about, and wildcrafting was in front of my mind as I was doing some cleaning. Um, so don't be afraid to email me. I do respond. It's wildpaisley@gmail.com. WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook also, just so you know. The website will be live by the weekend, and it'll be www.thespacesbetween.online or live. Shoot. Um, I will have it up on Facebook by Monday. I promise. It's just so many things going on. I got the mini Paisley. She just started kindergarten, which is an adventure because she's my youngest, my oldest. My boys are in their 20s, so there's 20 years between my kiddos, and the world has changed a lot. Oh my gosh. So yeah, there's that. But again, the website will have the storefront back into it. So if you want to support the show by purchasing something, that's super cool. Mostly, I think I've got rune mugs and totes and that kind of thing. I do have runes in general because I prefer runes over tarot, um, and that kind of thing. I have a local gentleman who will probably be sourcing some smudge sticks. So if you're interested in purchasing smudge, that'll be a thing on there also because it's where I buy mine and I love it. My favorite I think so far is sage mixed with lavender. It just feels very cleansing, very very grounding with it, and it's good. It's very very good. So tomorrow night we will be talking to Ms. Deb Varner about connecting with your guides because that's something we all need to do a little bit so they're not face palming because I know mine do occasionally. Also, kind of how to protect yourself because there are some people out there who do want negative things, unfortunately. So, yeah, how to protect yourself. I do believe Natalie is on next on Truth Frequency Radio. I think that's who's on the schedule. And so yeah, so tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we will be live again with Deb Varner. You can email me in the meantime. It's wildpaisley at gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY at gmail.com. And yeah, it's been great kind of just hanging out and chatting with y'all about random stuff. Mostly, wildcrafting is huge. It's just a really great way to connect with your environment and your practice as a pagan or a witch. Make sure you're being respectful of your surroundings. Be aware of the weather and prepare yourself because, like, snow this weekend, seriously. Make sure you take a jacket, boots, hat, scarves. Maybe stay home. Have some hot chocolate or tea or wine. Wine's even good. Um, and we will see you tomorrow night. So thank you, my friends, for joining me. And have merry
So,
meet and merry part
Lord,
and merry meet
Son,
again.
as we will, so mote it be, this now forever done.